Alrighty, let's start here by just talking about what do you do when a cop pulls you over. Let's say, Pete, that we have ideal circumstances. You know, it's a nice cop, it's a nice day, I'm a reasonable biker, I've got nothing to hide. Cop pulls me over. How do I deal with that interaction?
Smile. Hello, sir. Hand him your license, hand him your registration, hand him your proof of insurance, and this is how we hope it goes. We've spent a lot of time doing videos in the past about how to deal with a situation where you've got a confrontational or aggressive cop.
Have you been drinking, son? You don't mind if I check your saddlebags out, do you? Oh, you're going to be uncooperative now, are you?
But, I'd like to think more often than not it's what we're talking about now, and that's a cop that's just doing his job. Maybe he's got you busted for speeding, whatever, but they're not fishing around, not trying to upgrade your charges. And if you got one of those, you just, you be polite no matter what, but you just be polite, give him the basic information that he needs. And if he's a decent cop, he's going to take that information, write you your ticket or give you a pass, one or the other, and it'll be over.
So we've talked a little bit about recording what's happening in those interactions, whether you've got like a GoPro on your helmet or you've got your phone out and it's on the handlebars and you're recording the whole interaction. And reasonable cops, they don't tend to have an issue with this. Let's say we have a more aggressive cop and one who's saying,
turn that off. You don't have the right to record this. Turn it off.
What do you do?
Well, you're going to have to make a judgment call. Number one, you do have almost the absolute right to record everything that happens during that stop. And the reason I say almost the absolute right is you do not have the right to do anything with your recording that will interfere with the cop doing his job for the stop. So, if you got your phone in your hand, you can't stick it out in the cop's face and do that kind of stuff. But as far as recording the events of the stop, as long as you're not interfering with the cop, you have the absolute right to record it.
You've got this right. Let's say cops, they don't go to law school. I don't know if people know this or don't know this, but the police training does not involve traditional legal expertise. They're not members of the court or anything close to it. So let's say they have no idea that you have this right for whatever reason. What do you do when they demand that you turn it off, even though that's clearly a violation?
And turn off that fucking cell phone camera.
Well, I'd like to think they do know that you've got the right to do that, but at some point you got to make a judgment call. And it depends on what you're facing. We've all seen videos of people getting the shit kicked out of them by cops.
Yep.
So if you leave your camera on, does that make it more or less likely that that's going to happen to you? And again, I'm not saying cops are looking to stop people and kick the shit out of them, but if you've got a cop that's being hyper aggressive about turning off your camera and you've already said, I've got the right to keep this on, and they're still staying aggressive about it. Maybe if you leave it on, that leads to more aggression. Maybe if you turn it off, that leads to something happening that the cop wouldn't have done if the camera was on. So bottom line, you got the absolute right to have that camera on. The moment the camera goes off, it becomes your word against the cops. It's always been my opinion, if you've got video of a cop demanding that you turn the video off and he's commanding you to do it, if you turn it off, there's not a prosecutor that's going to touch that case. And I'm assuming the cop doesn't have his video on either.
Sure.
If he has his video on, it's kind of no harm, no foul. But if he's demanded that you turn your video off and oops, he forgot to have his on, I don't think the prosecutor's going to touch that case. I know it's something you can make hay over in front of a jury, but you have the right to keep the camera on. And in most instances, that's probably the right thing to do.
Now, let's take it into a slight variation. Let's say a cop pulls you over, you're a law-abiding citizen, you've got a gun.
Sir, do you have a firearm of any kind in your possession?
And you're in a state potentially where you have the permit for that, whatever the requisite legal piece is that you need to have that gun legally in your possession, you've cleared it.
You have a permit for that.
You've done it. So does that change how you interact with the police if you are armed when they pull you over?
No. And again, it's different from state to state. And I don't remember off the top of my head which state it is where you are required to tell the cop immediately at the start of the stop, whether he asks you or not, that you've got a firearm on you.
Gotcha.
Everywhere else, you just have to answer honestly if they ask you. So unless I'm in Nebraska where you have to tell them, I'm not saying shit because, yeah, it might make the cop twitchy.
Right.
But if he asks, then you tell.
Fair enough. Now, if we take it a step further, let's talk about saddlebags.
You don't mind if I check your saddlebags out, do you?
Do they have a right to just search your saddlebags?
No,
Okay.
they don't. As a general rule, you have to consent to them searching your saddlebags. And it's not unusual for a cop to ask to do that, and that's where it's important to be ready to say, sir, I do not consent to you searching.
Gotcha. Now, is there a way that you can open that door for them so that they can get into the saddlebags? Is that potentially a scenario where your license, your registration, your insurance, those things are in the saddlebags and you have to reach in and pull them out? Does that open the door for the cops then to look in those saddlebags?
It might, it's, and this is why I suggest to people that they have somewhere separate and distinct to keep those things that you hand over to the cops in a traffic stop, your license, insurance, and registration. Like I have a tiny little tank bag where I keep mine. But you open up your saddlebag, cop sees a pistol and a bottle of Fireball.
Right.
Well, he's searching that shit now,
Right.
because you opened the door. He saw what may give cause for him to think that a violation of the law has occurred. So, if you don't have a permit for the gun, you're in deep shit now. And him seeing the Fireball, he may start asking for you to do sobriety tests and all that, or any other host of things. I mean, maybe it's a bag of weed, whatever. But once you open up that bag and the cop sees something that gives him a reasonable suspicion to believe that you're doing some kind of a legal violation, you've opened the door.
We mentioned briefly like a bag of weed in the saddlebags. Let's say that there is a bag of weed in the saddlebags, and let's say it's not even yours. Like maybe your friend threw something in there when you weren't looking, and you're aware of it. Dear listener, obviously you would never put weed in your saddlebags. We would never say that. But let's say there's an illegal contraband-esque item that's sitting in your saddlebags, and as the cop pulls you over, you go, "Oh crap, that's not what I wanted to have in there at this point." Does that change how you need to interact with the police officer?
Well, I laugh because you said it's not yours. That's what they always say.
Right, right.
It's not mine, sir. Doesn't matter. It's in your bag. Okay. If you got a bag of weed in your saddlebag and the cop gets at it, it doesn't matter if you say it belongs to somebody else. It's in your saddlebag.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, that's going to wrap up all of the FAQs that we have regarding cops and interactions. If you've got any legal questions, be sure to email us at jonathan@thebikerlawyers.com, and you just might find the answer next week. Now let's ride on over to our latest biker business. This week, we're featuring Up and Smoke BBQ, located in Czech Village in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This restaurant has set the new standard for barbecue along the Eastern Corridor. I highly recommend you stop by and try out those ribs. It's a father-son local joint that'll hit the spot. And they may not be baby back ribs, but they taste a hell of a lot better and support the local community. Now, comment below and let us know where your favorite biker businesses are, and they may get featured here next week. Thank you for watching and supporting the rebellion. Until next time, Rebels, ride with us.